I can see that you're talking, but I cannot hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon. This is Keeping It Real with V and G. And we want to take this time to thank you for joining us again. We have a fantastic show. We have a very dynamic personality with a wealth of knowledge and experience at her very young age. But before we get to our presenter, we're going to do our African American history. Remember, this is Black History Month. And we thought about there are several historical figures that are in and around Mobile County. So we thought we would just start at home first before we branch out. Today, we want to talk about Dr. Yvonne Kennedy. Dr. Yvonne Kennedy was an Alabama State University alumni, a leader, an activist, and an educator whose passion for service led her to become the first Black woman from Mobile County to be elected to the Alabama House of Representatives in 1979, a position she served until her death in 2012. Dr. Kennedy served as president of Bishop State Community College in Mobile from 1981 to 2007, becoming the first Black woman appointed president to a state community college in Alabama. She also served as the 19th national president of Delta Sigma Theta sorority from 1988 to 1992. As a student at Alabama State University, she was crowned Miss Alabama State in 1965. So let's pay homage to Dr. Yvonne Kennedy, a definite leader and a historical figure of our own. And now we will turn to our presenter. Our presenter today, as I said earlier, is a very dynamic personality with lots of experience, lots of knowledge for a very, very young age. She is Shalala Dowdy. Uh, Shalila Dowdy is a native of Mobile, Alabama. She graduated from Murphy High School in 2008. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree in American Legal Studies, which is the pre-law course, from the United States Military Academy at West Point in 2012. Additionally, in 2017, she earned a Master's of Arts in Leadership Studies from the University of Texas at El Paso. She served 6 years in the United States Army on active duty as an Air Defense Artillery Officer and Human Resource Officer. After her time on active duty, she worked as a consultant for, for Deloitte and Touche LLP in professional services. She is passionate about continuous growth, both professionally and personally. This led to her becoming involved as a community activist and a community organizer. She has spent time assisting with numerous political campaigns on the school board level, the city council level, and on the congressional level. In 2020, she worked for the Alabama Democratic Party as a field organizer. She is currently in the Army Reserves, where she holds the rank of captain and the position of Military Academy Liaison Officer. Shalila is a member of the Urban League Young Professionals, Kappa Epsilon Psi military sorority, a Silver Life member of the NAACP, a Legacy Life member of the National Council of Negro Women, and a member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And now I introduce to you our presenter, Ms. Dowden.
Thank you, V, for that great introduction. Thank you for having me on y'all's show today. I'm very honored to be here. And so today I am here to speak about something that's very high profile right now in our communities, and that is redistricting. And so, like V stated, I have an intensive background, and right now, the 2020 census has been completed and redistricting is occurring across the entire country. So the census is conducted to count our American citizens along with determining where they are, because based off of who moved to what big city, sometimes your representation in Congress changes. And so, for example, a lot of people are moving to the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Houston. And so Texas actually acquired more congressional seats. And so I'll go over what's been happening redistricting wise on the state level and what is also happening locally. So on the state level, our legislators voted on and approved, and Governor Kay Ivey signed into law 4 maps. So that was our congressional map. We have 7 congressional districts. Our state Senate map, we have 35 Senate districts. Our state House map, we have 105 state House districts. And our Board of Education school board maps. On the state level, we have 8 school board districts. All those maps were signed into law. And the issue with those is that the process was really rushed. And so when it comes to map drawing in Alabama, the Republicans kind of control it. And they didn't really allow much citizen input. And if you were engaged and you watched the special session, every Democrat basically voted against the maps. No Democratic representative on our state House or state Senate level thought those maps should have passed when they passed. And so that should speak volumes that all the Democrats, which is also actually all the African Americans, voted against those maps because they did not really allow for citizen input. And so there were 28 public hearings across the state to allow for citizen input before the maps were drawn. And we had a public hearing in Mobile at Bishop State in September, and I spoke at it. And I was very adamant, and other people who spoke around the state, on advocating for 2 majority minority districts. And when we say majority minority in America, that's basically a Black district, because African Americans are a minority in America because we only sit at about 12%. I'll go into how we are not a minority in the city of Mobile later. So we have 7 congressional districts. 6 of those seats are held by white Republican men. 1 is held by a Black woman. That is the Democratic seat. Her name is Terry Sewell. So that 1 district gives us 1 out of 7 representation, 14% of representation. The Black population in the state of Alabama, according to the 2020 census, is 27%. So if we were to have a second district that is majority Black, that would give us 28% of representation. So the Republicans' pushback was, well, you're 27%, 2 districts would give you 28, you would be overrepresented. Meanwhile, they got a whole extra district that they shouldn't even have. And so on the state level, what has happened was there were 3 lawsuits that were filed in the Northern District Courts of Alabama. And I was one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. And we had a preliminary injunction, which is kind of when you have the process, but it's rushed. So the lawsuits basically sued the Secretary of State, which is Secretary Merrill. And because we have these elections coming up, we were trying to have the process go by as fast as possible. So you may have seen in the media where the federal court judges actually told our state that our maps were gerrymandered and that the Black vote is basically diluted. And they told our state that they need to redraw these maps to make sure that there's a second Black majority district. Well, obviously, the Secretary of State did not agree with that. They appealed it, which means that they sent it to the U.S. Supreme Court. And recently, the Supreme Court decision was that these current maps will stay in place. And they kind of went with that because we have primary elections on May 24th. And so those people who are already campaigning in districts, you know, they didn't want to screw them over. But I'm just like, it's always the right time to do the right thing. If we're waiting for them to have the election and then come down with a decision, we're going to be going to the polls to vote for somebody who will be our congressional representative, who doesn't vote and support legislation that has our best interests at heart. And I'm talking about Congressman Jerry Carr, who's our person right now. He's voted against the CARES Act. He's voted against the Build Back Better plan. He voted against some Nursing Mothers Act. And you know he's a Republican, so you know he's going to be against abortion, right? But then you're going to vote against the Nursing Mothers Act, which helps nursing mothers in the workplace. It makes no sense. And so what we were advocating for was that the new majority Black district come from Mobile, the Black Belt, and Montgomery, combine us. Because right now that District 7, the majority one Black district that we have, is about 68% Black, and they have the Black portion of Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and Montgomery in the Black Belt, all in the same district. And some of that can go into another district so that the Black vote isn't diluted in our state. And so when the Supreme Court kind of sided with the state, if you did not read into what they said, it kind of looks like we lost, but we did not. What they said was that basically now we have to do oral arguments in the fall, and maybe next spring we'll have their official decision. But I'm not here for the Supreme Court ruling because it's simple math. 27% of the state is Black. If you give us 2 districts, we have 28% of representation. Simple math. But now basically the process is going to be drawn out. There were three lawsuits, and kind of only about 2 of them moved forward. And that's what's happening on the state level. I haven't seen yet if there's been any lawsuits for our state house map or state senate map. One of those 2 maps actually split Alabama A&M. The students on that campus is actually in 2 separate districts when they all should be in 1 district. And so that's the kind of stuff that they do. But first we're tackling the congressional maps, and that's where the lawsuits came from on the congressional level. So moving on to locally. So the census revealed that Mobile is now a majority African-American city. You may not necessarily see that though, because when I go to events hosted by the city of Mobile, I don't necessarily always see us at them. But Mobile is 51% Black and about 40% white. There is a 20,000 person difference between us. Our city council has 7 members on them. 4 members of the city council are white and 3 of them are Black. So what we have been fighting for is a 4th district where we can elect a Black candidate. Because if the city's majority Black, the city council should be majority Black. Mm-hmm. And before the new maps are not and they haven't been signed into law yet. But looking at our districts, we actually have 5 districts that are somewhat majority Black right now. 5 and 7 are the new ones, and 1, 2, and 3 east of I-65 are where our Black districts are. But given the population shift, you know, Black people, the number increased, and it could be more white people are leaving the city of Mobile than Black people are. Our other issue is that a huge percentage of the population is now West. When Orange Grove closed, when Roger Williams closed, Josephine Allen closed, that's a couple thousand of Black people that are now no longer on the east side of the city, but now West. And that's because they gave them vouchers, but nobody was accepting those vouchers east of I-65. So they kind of were forced to go West. They're West, but some people are so far West that they're outside the city limits. So once you pass Schillinger, you're not in the city limits. Cody Road, there's a lot of apartment complexes out there. By the airport, there's a lot of apartment complexes out there. I know in my generation, I'm 32. My friends and family that are starting their families and they're buying new houses and new property, everybody's houses are out West, and people are moving out there not knowing that they are in the county of Mobile, but they're no longer in the city. So our Black population could actually be higher if we had not lost all those Black people. And now they're also spread out. So the mayor had until February 12th to produce a new map. the mayor and the city council received a letter from SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, that stated that the new map should depict a fourth Black district. So the SPLC kind of called them out beforehand, to kind of make sure they do the right thing. So when you have a majority Black district, one thing you want to focus on is the Black voting age population, not just the Black population in general, because everybody is not over 18 and everybody cannot vote. And the mayor presented a map, I think, on Thursday. They held community meetings. I will say they held community meetings in all 7 districts. They also had a Redistricting 101 video posted on there. They called it a town hall, but it wasn't live because they had technical difficulties. But that's posted on the city page. And they also met with some of the members in the community. So I was one of them. We met with the chief of staff, Jim Barber, and other people who work for the mayor. They presented the maps, asked our opinions and whatnot. And so there is a new majority Black district, so making it 4 majority Black districts, but we're not happy with the numbers. So originally, the mayor's plan was sponsored by the president of the council, CJ Smalls, but he has retracted sponsoring it, and none of the Black city council members are sponsoring this bill. All the white ones are. And so our issue, Black organizations in the city, the NAACP, Stand Up Mobile, our issue is that the new Black district is 50.5% voting age population. That's not a safe number. We would like for the Black voting age population in District 7 to be 52, 53%. And the fact that we're that close, I feel like we could possibly reach that number. The issue is having to shift districts around. And also the issue is city council members want to hold on to significant landmarks in their district, which at this point, I think is not important. What's important is fair and equal representation of the individuals in the city, not the fact that you want to hold on to a park or you want to hold on to a building and have that in your district. We have to try and plead. They have to try and please all 7 of the city council members. So the map has been completed. It has been introduced to the council. I think it'll be on the agenda on Tuesday. And the city council has 6 months to either present a new plan and vote on it, or if they don't do anything after 6 months, the mayor's plan automatically goes into effect. There could be a lawsuit from any of these organizations that assist with suing cities over that 4th district being 50.5. And I say the issue is that District 1 and 3, their Black voting age population is in the high 60s, like 68, 69, 67. So they have some numbers that they have Black people in those districts. It's not an easy thing to try and figure out how to do all the moving around, but their numbers are so high that something can be done to assist District 7. And I feel like more Black people from District 1 could go into District 7 to make it a safe Black district, because what's going to happen is when it's time to have elections for city council and mayor in 2025, we're going to have to do a lot of work in District 7 to make sure those Black people show up so we can elect someone that looks like us and who cares about our needs in our community. Because if not, the white people in the district cannot vote them. And then we did all this fighting for this district for no reason because our people didn't show up to vote. And we would have to focus on that district because their Black voting age population is so low. It's 50.5 compared to 68%, 69% in District 1 and District 3. So that's kind of like where we are right now. The city council members, they all signed a resolution that talked about before they agreed upon a map that they were going to engage their district. So they're going to have community meetings again to talk about these maps and let their people know what it means. And I don't know if y'all have been watching the city council meetings. If you have not, you can watch them on YouTube or you can watch them streaming live, but it's on YouTube. The issue was that, we were talking about race. We talk about race in America, and some of our city council members, the white ones, had issues with us talking about race. And I'm like, it's a thing. Like, our race is on our driver license. We register for anything, sign up for anything. You got to put race. So my thing is, the other side is scared to talk about race right now. We got the critical race theory thing.
Oh, yeah.
They're scared to talk about race. And so, but that's about all I have right now. Do you have any questions? I know I was just rambling.
Yes, I do have some questions. You said something that, and I tried to jot it down, but you were talking rather fast there. You said,
I'm sorry.
that's okay, the right time to do,
Oh, it's always the right time to do the right thing.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
And I said that in reference, I'm about to try to slow down because I naturally talk fast. I said that in reference to the Supreme Court wanting to draw out the process of stopping Alabama from gerrymandering their maps because they want to focus on the fact that we got elections coming up. Well, I feel like if you want to be a politician, you want to represent people, you need to be able to be flexible, be able to adapt to change. And the Congress seats are up every 2 years, so
Yeah.
we're always gonna run into, oh, it's time for an election. But it's interesting, um what certain people value and think is important, because they said we're gonna let these maps stay in place because we got primaries coming up. But it's simple math to see that the black vote in Alabama on a congressional level is diluted. But thankfully we have people and organizations who are willing to fight on behalf of our black Alabamians so that we can get that equal representation that our white counterparts have in our state.
Now, you said in the Montgomery district, that Montgomery district encompasses Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and what was the third one?
A portion of the black belt.
Oh, okay.
Like Selma's in that district, and so that's District 7.
Okay.
They go in. If you were to pull up a map and look at how the districts are drawn, it's obvious that District 7 is gerrymandered. There's like a finger that sticks out into Birmingham. So
Yeah.
Birmingham and Montgomery, as well as Mobile, are majority black cities. The suburbs, especially of Birmingham, is white. So in that map, they go up and they grab like the black portion of the city. They don't grab all of Tuscaloosa. They grab the black side of Tuscaloosa. Selma, the black belt, and they go in and grab a certain portion of Montgomery.
Yeah.
To have it make up that majority minority district. So yeah.
Okay. With the ruling from the Supreme Court. Now, does that not mean it will come back up again?
It will. It's coming back up. They did not agree with the state of Alabama. They just stayed the maps, and now there's going to have to be oral arguments, and the process is going to be drawn out. And sometimes they want this stuff to be drawn out so that you get tired of fighting it. But I don't know I don't know the correct terminology, if they have terms. But I'll just say seasons. That's not the correct word, but we don't know if the oral arguments will be this summer or this fall, with their decision coming out next spring.
Okay.
And I guess, in 2023, we won't have a congressional election. And it's kind of like a down year when it comes to elections, period. But yeah, so it's not over with at all. It's just we're instead of trying to be fast with it and catch it before these next elections in November, now the process is going to be drawn out. But at this point, now we're going to go to the polls, and I don't even think, I got to look it up, I don't think anybody qualified to run as a Democrat for the first congressional district for us.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the list of people who qualified, but that's the case. Jerry Hall get reelected. District 1 is like 35% black. Congressional District 1. And
in the first congressional district, it would be our district on this end of the state, right?
Yeah, that's us. And what we were hoping for and advocating for was, we might be in 1 or we might be in 2 in the new maps that we wanted. But it would come down, it would not grab all of Mobile County. The new maps would only grab and it would only grab Mobile, because Mobile is black. The county is white.
Yes.
With the black population only being like 30-some%. But yeah, I mean, that's we all know off the top of our head when it comes to these black districts. The other black district could come from Birmingham.
Yes.
Jefferson County is almost black enough to be its own congressional district because they have so many people. So the issue is, we were trying to figure out, was it going to come from Birmingham, or was the second black district going to come from the lower part of the state?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. The voting age population for Mobile City. What is the voting age population? What is the percentage?
For the whole city,
for the city would be about what?
I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong number, so I don't know that actual number off the top of my head for the whole city.
But you were, I know we've been focusing, and I've attended a couple of the city council meetings. We have been focusing on District 7.
Right.
But I'm hearing you talk about 7 and a possibility of 5.
Right. 5, if you look at, well, I'm on my phone right now, I can't even pull it up. If you were to look at even the maps that they have proposed online right now, the five Black, I don't know the voting age population, but their Black population is in the 40%. It's close. Okay. The black and white population is close in 5.
Okay.
So but 5 is very landlocked. It's in the center. Yeah. I honestly feel like we could have tried to have gotten that 4th Black district out of 5, but all I'm gonna say is the country club is in that district.
Yes.
And the person that runs the city lives in that district. Yeah. And a lot of certain people, the majority of the people who spend their time at the country club, I'm more than sure that they wouldn't want to be living in a Black district. So I'm sure that plays a role in them going after 7. 7 numbers were a little higher. But when it comes to, this is hard to get 52, 53, why not switch to 5 and see what you can do? Because 5 touches 3 and 1. 7 only. So when it comes to Blackness, the only Black district 7 touches for the most part is 1. I don't know if it touches 2, but we're not trying to take no Black people from 2, because that's another area too. 2 is the area that's being gentrified downtown. Yes. All the housing complexes that got shut down were in 2. So 2 lost all of its Black people. Exactly. And then people are literally trying to push Black people out of that district. So we're not touching Black people in 2. And so that's something to be aware of, like how 2 is basically bleeding out. But District 5 touches 2 and 3, and it might touch 1. I don't know. I just feel like they should have gave us options. Like, let's look at 5. But you know, they went after 7. Yeah. But I think the geography of where 5 is and what's inside 5, that's Airport Boulevard, Azalea, the country club. I think that played a role in them not wanting to touch it.
Of course, and 5 is what we call the Spring Hill district, and that's kind of like the elitist, high income area. Yeah. I live in District 2, and so does Susan. I live in District 2, and they are moving in droves. As a matter of fact, they are actually canvassing the neighborhood to see if you want to sell your property. And even if you're not considering, they'll make you an offer that looks really, really good to some people. So
and that's crazy because the houses in District 2, the Oakley area, down the Bay, they're expensive. So even if you make me an offer, I really can't go nowhere but west. And why would I want to move further away from the city?
Exactly.
Right. Hopefully people are smart. I'm tracking their buying no property in the campground in the bottom. People ain't paying their property taxes. Folks are letting their relatives' property, just go away. And so I feel like if we were to look at who owns what on Congress Street, who owns what in the campground in the bottom, more people that don't look like us probably own stuff that we're not aware of.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah. And I also heard that they're also doing something similar in the Maysville area, which is District 3.
Yeah, because the airport's coming over there, and we know what the surroundings of airports look like. Yes. So, they're moving the people out of RV, and I'm sure they're just giving them vouchers, and them people ain't nowhere for them to go in 1, 2, and 3. They having to go. And the thing is, you're pushing these people so far west. Our public transportation don't go that far out.
No, it does
not. They're out there. They're screwed. So it's a lot of moving pieces of it's a lot of moving things going on in Mobile, and I wish people would just be paying attention. Especially my age group, we're not. But if people were paying attention to what's going on, because they're coming for Davis Avenue, they're coming for MLK, and that's where our Black history is. And if we give that up, we lose that. And then they found the Clotilda. So the state is going to try. The state and people that don't look like us are going to try to capitalize off Africatown. So now we're going to have to fight for that too.
Exactly. That's true. Because,
So
before that film, that documentary was made about the finding of, locating the ship underwater and what have you, the city actually had no interest in that part of the city at all. But once that was made and it was on national TV, then
right.
all of a sudden the city had lots of interest in it.
Right. But
Mhm.
we know why and where it
Yes.
comes from.
Oh, of course. Of course.
So
Okay.
we got a lot of work to do because in the mayor's, I think it was his 100-day plan, but we might be past 100 days, Next up is going to be annexation. So now we're like, is he going to introduce this while we're still talking about these maps?
Yeah.
And then, if he was to introduce it, honestly, that'll be bad for him while we're still doing the maps, because then the councilman can just vote no for it and be like, well, we're focused on these maps. We don't have time to focus on your annexation. So we're going to vote this
Yes.
down.
Yes.
That'll be an easy way out for them.
Yes.
But concerning the annexation, their magic number is 200,000 because it will bring in more funding for the city. But my issue is don't do annexation to change what the city demographics look like, because a lot of people are not happy with what the demographics look like. Make it where you're bringing in an even amount of people from both sides. But our issue is we would have to go and inform our people, if we happen to be for an annexation, to tell them, hey, vote to come in, because if they get the opportunity to vote to come in and our people don't vote and the other side do, then more of them could come in than us. And so at this point, we can't get them to vote in municipal elections.
I know.
So I wouldn't even want to have to deal with that headache.
I know. Well,
So
we're working on it. As a matter of fact, we had in my sorority meeting yesterday, we had a report on that.
okay.
So we're trying our best to get the words out. And then
Gotcha.
organizations like yours, Stand Up Mobile. I know you guys are not taking any new members right now, but
Right.
what's the next step for us? What can we do?
Right. So Stand Up Mobile is only a year old, and so we formed the board of directors, and we're still like establishing constitution and bylaws and figuring out all that before we have like the membership side. So
yes.
But when we have events, the board members, we know anybody who's reached out to us, or if anybody has been at something that we've been at and they filled out a volunteer form, we reach out to them and be like, hey, we're doing something if you want to volunteer. And that we just was at the Africatown Clotilda Descendant Black History event on Saturday.
Yes.
So what we've been doing, because a lot of our work is just centered around voter education, and we're focused on redistricting, because if your lines aren't drawn fair, you can't go to the polls and make a fair and adequate vote. Just like we got to go vote for Jerry Call.
Mm-hmm.
So we are focused on February. We can't get much done. Y'all know we are in Mobile and we missed Mardi Gras last year.
Oh,
so
yes.
People could not. We should have hopped on redistricting earlier, because I was on the show and I talked about redistricting.
Yeah.
But we also had those elections, and a lot of it, what I found out is people can't focus on more than one thing at one time.
No.
After the elections, then everybody was like, okay, what's up with the maps? And I'm like, we should have, like, where was y'all when the state was down here? Like, but so we're not doing much in February because we trying to celebrate, they trying to celebrate. But come March, just focus on letting people know if you ask any random person you run into tomorrow and you ask them, hey, the date of our next election, they can't tell us that it's May 24th.
Mm-hmm.
So having the talk where we're always talking about voting, drilling into people's head that there's really never a year off. So we had the presidential election in 2020. We had our city elections last year. We got Senate, Congress, State House, State Senate, District Attorney, Sheriff, all of that on the ballot this year.
Yes.
And some of those positions that I named for this year are like more important than like president, because they control what happens on the local level.
Exactly.
So letting people know, we're trying to figure out what's going to be the state's stance on, are they going to allow in-person absentee voting again, where people can go down and vote and it gets counted later. But finding that out so we can share that with the public, and just getting people rallied behind voting in May. Now, the issue is with me not seeing who is slated. I have seen articles basically stating that, the ballot looks like what we've seen before, where there are Republicans running, and a lot of those positions, no Democrats are running against them. And the issue is, it's not something as simple as, oh, just go and run. The issue is, if I run, will you support me?
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
going to donate $1, $5? It costs
Mhm.
money to run, and a lot of Democrats are working people.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they can't afford to run. And then the filing fee, like I think the filing fee for Congress is like $3,000.
Okay.
So informing people that, hey, we know you might identify as Democrat. And you may be discouraged when you go to the polls and you don't see Democrat next to people's names, or well, I think when we go in May, we'll get a Democratic ballot and other people get a Republican ballot. I'm thinking that's what it is. But because I've heard people say, well, I don't see people, who beliefs align with mine, so they're Democrats. I don't see a lot of them on the ballot. I see a lot of the Republican judges run unopposed. And so what's going to be my point in voting if none of our people are on the ballot? And I'm not even saying black people, Democrats are on the ballot. And so explaining to them, we need to ingrain in them, you should always be voting, period.
Yeah.
Like, even if you got to write somebody's name in, you should, if you don't want to vote for those Republicans, because there's no Democrat on there for you to choose from, write somebody's name in, because if you can write in, then you technically ain't giving them your vote.
Exactly.
So it's an education piece. Like, we have, the big elections in November, educating and registering people to vote. Because we got about 20,000 people in the city that's not registered to vote. We have about 140,000 that are registered. But this is also a midterm election, so the turnout's not going to be the same as it was in November 2020. So having that conversation now about voting, utilizing your social media platforms to highlight the importance of voting, to talk about the upcoming election, so that people are aware of it. So that's what we're doing. When people host events, we go and set up shop. So we've been registering people to vote at one of the AME churches downtown. I forgot the name of it, but they were actually paying people to come take COVID tests. Wow. And so we had a table set up, and we were asking people if they were registered to vote, and had them fill out the paperwork so that we can mail it in for them.
Great. That's great. That's great. Well, we're going to do our part. We are going to have people to come on like you, who will talk about what's happening with redistricting, what's happening with the vote, and how it impacts us, why it's important for us to be actively involved. So we're going to stay. And then, of course, when you guys have anything that's coming up and you would like to get the word out, just holler back at us, one of us, Susan or myself, and we will gladly put you on and ask or help you solicit some volunteers, and then we can always come and volunteer as well.
Okay, that's awesome to hear. I appreciate you offering the uses of your platform.
Yes, we can. Anytime you guys want to come and something's happened, how it can happen any minute, any day. Whenever something like that, just give us a holler and we will make time for you guys. Okay? We do appreciate you, and we thank you for all of the information. We have been trying our best to stay on top of things. We have Mr. Carroll, who's coming on next Sunday, and he's going to talk about, he has a major meeting. I think it's the 3 of the city council members, District 1, 2, and 3, are meeting at Harmon Recreation Center on the 15th of this month.
Oh yeah. I think it's only a District 2 community meeting on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder why he went to Harmon, because that's not in his district, I don't think, unless
right, because that's across the street from Williamson. It could be, because I think it is in his district, because right now Duval Street, one side of Duval Street is in 2 and the other side is in 3. So it actually might be in his district.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, what I would encourage everybody to do is to pull up maps and look at the maps, because a lot of us don't spend time looking at the maps, because people would come and try to vote, and I'd be like, you don't live in the city limits.
Yeah. Well, we are going to have him on next Sunday, and he's going to talk about some things that have happened recently, just as you did. And then, of course, we will have the information up about the meeting on the 15th. And of course, anyone will be invited to that.
Right. And that's on what, Tuesday? Yeah.
I think, yes,
Tuesday.
Yes, that's it. Okay. Information session. That's great. We want to thank you again. And as I said before, you are welcome to come back at any time and just keep us updated and abreast of what's going on with this issue because it is vitally, vitally important.
Yes, ma'am. I will be sure to do so.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. We will see you again next Sunday at 4 o'clock. And as I said before, we will have Councilman William Carroll with us, who will give us some more insights on what's going on with the redistricting issue. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next Sunday at 4 p.m. Thank you and good evening.